Hello, and welcome to Andrew Broussard Watercolors. Today we're doing something different with the watercolors. I have a 9x12 sheet of the Yupo paper, which is a synthetic paper, it's plastic, and I taped it down to probably about 10 by 6 or 6 by 11, give or take. So the reason I got this paper is with the golden age of watercolors within the 1800s, some artists would varnish their paper and they would use that surface to push around the pigment more and try different things. And it should be easier to lift and experiment with. That being said, please like, subscribe, follow, and if you want to follow along, you're more than welcome to. I don't know how good it'll come out, but you always have my express permission to sell anything you do whenever you follow along. I want you guys to have fun and to have money for art supplies. And if you want to support this channel monetarily, I have the Patreon linked down below. So when I picked up this paper, they had some Daniel Smith paints on sale. It was Michael's. And this is the Fuchsite. I wanted to see how this looks as a wash. I don't have too much in mind with what I want to do compositionally. It'll probably be pretty basic. It looks like there's little reflective particles in this one, like mica flakes. And then the second new pigment that I picked up was Daniel Smith's Blue Apatite Genuine. Okay, it's on the darker side of things. Let's see how much we can really lay on. When I was looking to see which ones were on sale, I looked up their color swatches on the Daniel Smith website. And this one, they were saying you can get some light blues and some dark blacks from it. So that really spoke to me. I can tell with this one we could see the brush strokes a lot more, and it might just be my application, but I don't mind pushing it around. I think that'll make it a little bit fun. Let's bring that down here. I did do a cursory look online for any suggestions on what to do when painting with the Yupo paper. And the first suggestion I saw was use a limited palette. So we'll stay pretty limited. So far it's just these two guys. And oh, I also pushed the tape around to the back side to see if we can lift it up and let it travel and create. But it's not flowing as fast as I thought it would. But I'm not going wet and wet. But it is moving some, so you could probably get some interesting effects doing that. Okay, so I was thinking those two colors along with the Perylene green, so that's Daniel Smith. Oh, I guess it'll be all Daniel Smith, this painting. So let's kind of get an idea for the land out there. And I have the permanent alizarin crimson. And it's a little dirty from the previous use, but it's okay. So I think the landscape itself will be a back and forth of those two. I've been using them to mix it dark lately. Let's see what happens if we think of an idea for trees. So we're looking to get kind of tonalist here. And I think on the cover of the packet of the pad, it said that you can pretty much wipe off and erase the whole thing. because being that it's plastic, there should be no fibers. It should not really be absorbent. And our pigment's going to dry on top of the paper as opposed to inside it. Okay. Definitely interesting how it's interacting with that previous wash. There's probably a lot of different effects you can get. We can use the paper towel for texture. Very different for handling. I'm going to grab some more of that blue up tight. Let's see. I'm going to grab a oil bristle brush. I want to see what type of marks we can get with that. Okay, very much like the tonalist oil painters, we can push pigment around. I think it would be beneficial to really load it on there. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so you can see how I can use this to create textures that aren't possible on watercolor paper. I have to treat it more like an oil painting. At least for what I want it to do. And we're going to really start wiping back and forth now. So I'm going full-on tonalist oil painting approach. So paper towel, I'm wiping back my lightest in the sky. I'm going to grab another oil brush. This one I kind of chopped up the end of for different textures with the watercolor. Let me grab the fuchsite. There you go, and you can see the brush strokes and how different that is. I'm thinking so far the only difference between this and oils would be that I can't really use a soft brush to blend it all out. Let's just rotate between these two brushes. I have a lot more pigment. And ooh, we can use a Q-tip to lift. For that tree line. And I'm going to adjust that tree line, because now that I kind of have an idea for the feel of it, I can do things a lot differently. And I let that sit there for a second. I was able to come back and move that very easily. Okay. This is just too red. Perylene. All right, let me grab some Q-tips. So let's see what I can do with this. I want to pull out a little bit of the field right here. I could have really tossed on a lot more paint. I want to come in with another line of dark. I picked up some Hobby Lobby brushes. They were half off, or 40% off. This one's pretty fun, the round zero. I had one of them and I enjoyed it so much I wanted to get some more. Just looking for a dark, but I don't really want the red attributes, so this is Perylene plus the blue apatite. So I want to bring this and have a separation so you have the background tree line and you have these guys. Ooh, the silicone brushes would be able to push it around as well. Sorry that this video is just me being like, ooh, we could do this, ooh, we could do that. But this is the first time exploring with it. So this silicone brush, I use it in oil painting to push oil paint around, and it lifts it really well, and it does the same thing here. Might have to wipe back and forth. It's almost like painting oil on a gesso board. We can get in here, move things around and get some interesting light coming through the tree. We could even do tree trunk ideas if we want to. But it's kind of push, wipe, push, wipe. So just bringing some openings. So aesthetically, so far it doesn't look much like anything, but there's so much possibility already. Okay, let's see. I'm just going all in on that blue as a dark. Here, such a great way to explore tone values in watercolor. This is really interesting. I wonder how plein air would be with it, considering the drying times would be different being outside. Okay, so if you puddle too much, we get some backfills. So a little different than oils right there, because the oils, once you start pushing them in this fashion, they don't, the water doesn't try to get back into where we just moved. The oil doesn't do that. Okay, so a little bit different there. Let's darken this edge. I'm going to grab a load of that fuchsite. Let me mellow that back. I don't like this line right here, so I can very easily come in with the brush and let's grab the dark and change that edge up. see if we can lift tree trunks out with the paper towel in the style of Dennis Sheehan and Stuart Davies, the oil painters. See what type of tree trunk effects we can get with just a rolled up tissue paper. Okay. That would require a little bit more control, but it is possible. This is also similar to monotype, taking ink on a non-absorbent surface, applying it, pushing it around in this fashion, and then running through a press and doing a one-time print from it. Okay. Now, I want to see how it dries off and how the blow dryer affects it, so in a moment I'm going to do that. But before we do that, let's just get texture. Just random texture will do. Okay, I'm going to pause the camera. I'm going to hit it with the blow dryer. Okay, so here's one spot that's still a little damp, but yeah, Percy's right there. I want to see how it lifts if I put a little line. Oh wow, you can pull out to the white of the paper, the white to the surface very easily. So that's something I'm going to have to be careful with because it'd be very easy to overdo. So maybe thinner lines will help out. So that's good to know. And if we want to pull out any white down here, very additive and subtractive. Wow. You would not be able to do that with mono printing because you would need your ink to still be wet in order to make the transfer. Percy, let's sit down here, baby. Wow, you can really subtract. This is amazing. And sometimes when you're lifting in this fashion with watercolor on paper, the paper itself starts to get a weird look to it because it's kind of scrubbing up the fibers. I'm not seeing that here. So you could really go back and forth with it. I want to see what a wash would look like over this. I'm going to grab the fusite. Percy, leave the water alone, baby. While I do this wash, funny story. I usually have a water bottle alongside the bed, and yesterday I had washed it, and it was, you know, in the dryer and all that, in the dish rack. So I grabbed a cup of water and I was taking a nap, and when I woke up I thought to myself, oh, I gotta move that cup of water to make sure that the cats don't knock it over. And I roll over and look, and Percy's right there looking at the water, just starting to put her paw into it. That's what she does. Okay, so overall washes to try to change the tonality. I'm not super pleased with it, but we could see some effects that are happening that are pretty cool looking. So if I learn those effects, you can really exploit it to different things. Okay, so now we're wet and wet again. And I'm gonna switch over to a different green and red mix. I'm gonna go with sap green. I believe this sap green is, what's the name of it? Da Vinci brand. And then I have a Venetian red on the palette, which should be Van Gogh brand as well. And that's a good classic mix for the traditional tonalist colors. Not sure if it'll work with this, but I'm going to apply it looser. Let's just let those water effects intermingle. It might just have to be either carefully planned out with how you paint, or super loose like this and allowing the abstract effects to happen. I wonder if there's any modern contemporary masters that solely use Yupo. If you do, let me know in the comments. Some expressive marks. Just breaking up that line right there. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about that? I'm gonna pause it, hit it with the blow dryer. All right, so whenever I dry it off, it doesn't so much have to really a tonal shift. It seems to have more of a dulling or a matting of the pigments. Not quite sure what's going on with that, but we tried a wash, we tried wet and wet, we used different brushes. Now let's try kind of a dry brush over there, so just painting on top. I'm gonna grab the new gamboge. I'm gonna look and see how that sits. And I'll paint in this fashion, and we'll see how painting on top works, or if it disturbs underneath, which it seems to be doing that, doing the disturbing. But this is all in the name of science. So the art desk itself, Percy has really taken a sleeping on it. In fact, we have a lot of pictures of her sleeping on this art desk. But the issue is on the felt. A lot of her fur gets on it. And there's a piece of fur I think got in here, and there's also a piece of a brush that got in here. I think because it's drying on top of the paper and it doesn't have anything to go inside of, the gum arabic in the paint, the binder, is essentially gluing it in place. Okay, let's grab some Naples yellow. Wash that back here. Grab that fuchsite. It's almost like if I scribble in this fashion, I really don't want to pass over anywhere I immediately just scribbled over. If I do that, it then starts to lift way too much. So just like any surface or any medium, it's just learning how to handle it. This is definitely a big change from our standard watercolor paper. I spent $10 on this pad, $12, sorry. for 10 sheets, so about $1.20 a sheet. Worth it for experimentation, and you know, with the Patreon and the YouTube money, I use that for art supplies so we can do more videos. So I don't know if I mentioned the Patreon, so if you consider supporting, that's what that goes to: experiments and paints and pigments. So you can see how that layered up. You can see where we lifted before. In fact, I can easily lift again. Huh, I got an idea. And if we just kind of draw in some grass with a wet brush and lift like that. So it seems like the expressive marks are getting the wow results, while the fine tuning is helping with some volume. Let's see if I can go right into that with that. I'm going to use that dark mix from earlier, the alizarin crimson and the perylene green. I want to push it more on the greener side. So very trippy, very loose, very expressive painting material. Okay, thin lines, obviously easy to paint with it. Create a horizontal surface over that undersurface. So you can see how quickly it just wants to grab what's underneath and move in it. I'm going to dry off again. All right, so we're 30 minutes in. We explored a lot of different techniques and saw what we can do with this. The overall result right now leaves a lot, and I think that it's simply a matter of practice to see what can happen with it. So I think I'm going to do the rest of this off camera, but hopefully it gave you guys some ideas of maybe other ways to attack tonalism in watercolor. So I hope you enjoyed, and I will be back soon with more videos. Please like, subscribe, follow. You'll have a great day. Bye-bye.